If you've ever brought ginger home from the store, you may have noticed how quickly it begins to shrink. Within a few weeks, it can feel lighter, softer, and sometimes even wrinkled. But in another setting, something very different happens. A piece of ginger placed in soil can slowly turn into thick, firm roots that seem to expand quietly over time. Months later, when you gently uncover it, the difference can be surprising. What makes this interesting is that the store-bought ginger often receives more attention. It is checked, handled, and sometimes even stored carefully. Yet the ginger in soil, which is mostly left alone, tends to grow larger and healthier. That contrast can feel confusing at first. If this feels confusing, that's very common. Many gardeners notice this pattern, but are not quite sure why it happens. Over the years, careful observation has shown that ginger responds in a steady and predictable way when certain conditions are met. The change does not happen overnight, but it follows a pattern that repeats itself again and again. Before explaining why this happened, it helps to understand what ginger is actually doing beneath the surface. Under the soil, ginger's not growing. Like a typical root, it is slowly spreading sideways. These thick underground stems, called rhizomes, expand outward bit by bit. Each new section forms as the plant gathers energy from its leaves above and stores it below. This process is quiet and slow. You may not notice much change day to day, but over weeks and months, the plant builds strength. When the conditions are right, the rhizomes become thicker and more solid. The plant is not rushing. It is simply following its natural rhythm. Because all of this happens out of sight, it can be easy to forget. Many gardeners focus only on the green leaves above the soil, but the real growth, the part we harvest, is happening below, and that growth depends on how stable and comfortable the environment is around the roots. When the soil stays balanced, it's not too wet and not too dry, the plant feels safe enough to expand. When the temperature is warm and steady, the growth continues. Without interruption, small changes in these conditions can make a big difference over time. One of the most common challenges comes from a simple misunderstanding. Many people believe that more care will lead to faster growth. So they water often, adjust the soil frequently, or check the roots again and again. While this comes from a good place, it can actually slow the plant down. Ginger prefers a calm and stable environment, and the soil is disturbed too often, the plant needs time to recover. Instead of growing outward, it pauses. The same can happen with overwatering. Soil that stays too wet can limit the air around the roots, making it harder for the plant to develop strong rhizomes. This pattern is very common, especially for beginners. You may feel that you are helping the plant when in reality it is being asked to adjust too often. Over time, this can lead to smaller, thinner roots instead of the larger ones you were hoping for. Another idea that often surprises gardeners is the role of container size. It might seem logical that a bigger pot would always lead to bigger ginger. More space should mean more growth. But with ginger, the situation is a little different. When the container is too large, the soil can hold extra moisture. This can make it harder to keep the balance just right. Plant may focus on spreading slowly without thickening. In some cases, it can even lead to uneven growth. A slightly snug space, on the other hand, can help the plant stay focused. Roots remain in a more controlled environment, where moisture and warmth are easier to maintain. This does not mean the plant should feel crowded, but it does suggest that more space is not always better. As these small observations come together, a pattern begins to form. The plant responds best when it is not pushed too hard, grows more steadily when conditions remain consistent. As often the difference between average growth and strong growth comes from a small, simple change. At first, this change may not seem important. It does not involve expensive tools or complicated steps. In fact, it can be done in just a few minutes. But its effect builds slowly over time, supporting the natural way ginger prefers to grow. What matters most is not constant effort, but gentle attention at the right moments. By making a small adjustment every couple of weeks, you give the plant what it needs without overwhelming it. Its approach may feel different from what you expect, but it aligns closely with how the plant behaves on its own. This brings us to the simple habit that can make a noticeable difference. Every couple of weeks, take a few minutes to check the soil lightly and adjust it just enough to keep it loose and breathable near the surface. Not deep digging, just a gentle touch. At the same time, ensure the moisture level is balanced, not too wet, not too dry. This small routine supports airflow and prevents the soil from becoming compacted. When the soil stays open and comfortable, the rhizomes can expand more easily. You are not forcing the plant to grow. You are simply removing small barriers that may slow it down. The key here is restraint. It only takes a few minutes. There is no need to repeat it daily. By spacing this habit out over time, you allow the plant to settle and continue its natural process without interruption. After a couple of weeks, you may begin to notice subtle changes. The leaves might appear a bit stronger or more upright. The base of the plant may feel firmer. These are early signs that the underground growth is improving. If you were to gently check beneath the surface later on, you might find that the rhizomes are beginning to thicken. They may not look dramatic at first, but the structure will feel more solid. This is often the stage where the plant is quietly building toward larger growth. These small discoveries can be encouraging. They show that the plant is responding, even if the changes are gradual. With time, these steady improvements can lead to more noticeable results. It is also important to remember that not all environments are the same. Ginger grows best in warm conditions with consistent moisture. In cooler climates, the process may take longer. In warmer regions, growth can be more active. Humidity also plays a role. In drier air, the plant may need a bit more attention to maintain balance. In more humid areas, the soil may stay moist for longer periods. Adjusting your approach based on your environment can help you work with the plant rather than against. Its seasons matter as well. During cooler months, growth may slow down naturally. This is not a sign of failure. It is simply the plant responding to its surroundings. Patience during these times can make a big difference when warmer conditions return. One gentle reminder that is often overlooked is to avoid checking the roots too frequently. It can be tempting to dig around and see what is happening below, but each time the soil is disturbed, the plant needs time to settle again. Overfeeding can also be an issue. While nutrients are important, too much can lead to imbalance. The plant may focus more on leaf growth instead of root development. Light, steady approach usually works best. By stepping back slightly and allowing the plant to continue on its own, you create a more stable environment. This can feel like doing less, but it often leads to better results. If you're comfortable sharing, I'm curious how often you check or water your ginger plant. Sometimes small habits make a bigger difference than we expect. In the end, growing ginger at home is not about constant effort. It is about understanding the rhythm of the plant and supporting it in simple ways. When the soil is balanced, the environment is steady, and the plant is left undisturbed. Growth tends to improve naturally. Sometimes the garden responds best when we reduce our actions instead of adding more. By observing closely and making small adjustments, you allow the plant to do what it already knows how to do. Sometimes the garden improves when we simply step back and observe.